Good goddamn, if you're watching this video right now, you know yesterday's Hogwarts Legacy State of Play stream did not disappoint. Not in the least. This doesn't happen very often when it comes to these kinds of things, but for the first time in a while, watching a piece of promotional material for an upcoming game actually left me speechless for the most part. Typically, I'd be throwing my shoes and expensive wine collection at the TV screen out of confusion, outrage, and/or disappointment, but this time was considerably different. For one, I don't think anybody, from the most die-hard Potter fan to the most cynical I don't give a shit about any of this dumb magic school garbage person, expected this game to be this chunky. I mean, we all knew it was going to be a game where you're a Hogwarts student going about your daily business, attending classes, and inevitably getting roped into something much bigger than you could have ever possibly conceived of. But Jesus Christ, this game seems to be so much more than that. We've obviously got Hogwarts. I was gonna say the star of the show, but the surrounding environments have me just as inclined to call the entirety of the map the star attraction. So in addition to this massive, foreboding, yet strangely cozy castle, we've got this mysterious, extended natural world that reaches way outside the confines of what we've ever been able to experience in a Harry Potter game. And who knows? Maybe this will finally be the game that kicks LEGO Harry Potter's ass and claims the throne of best Wizarding World game of all time. Back to Hogwarts, we've got all the usual spots, all the common rooms, the annoyingly inconsistent moving staircases, the grounds, all the classics. But seeing as how the game takes place in the late 1800s, most likely specifically starting in the year 1890, if this shot of a newspaper is anything to go by, everything has this fresh coat of paint splattered all across it. So while the sense of familiarity is definitely still there, I'd expect plenty of unforeseen surprises. Highlights for me? Well, the Prefect's bathroom. It's huge! It's huge! Comically large. How many goddamn Prefects does the school have anyway? Of course, I am assuming that this is in fact the Prefect's bathroom. I could be wrong, although I'm pretty sure it is. Aside from the bathroom, the common rooms are obviously something I'm quite interested in exploring. I'm wondering if all the little details are in there, like the Ravenclaw door riddle, or the staircase to the Gryffindor girls' dorm trying to murder any intruders who dare attempt to ascend. Also, what's the deal with the Great Lake? We gonna go swimming at some point, get disemboweled by some mer people? I'm down. We also get a look at the kitchens of the school, full of the most hard-working house elves wearing the most stylish of pillowcases. Such majestic creatures. And speaking of being clobbered with an obvious segue, the magical creature design and animation is top-notch. Look at these guys. I know it was stated at the start of this presentation that the footage shown would be a combination of actual in-game footage and cutscene/cinematics, but sometimes it's hard to tell when a cutscene ends and gameplay begins, or how often it happens. And it brings me great pain to confirm moon calves. Oh, things are just nightmare fuel. Some people find them cute. As far as I'm concerned, they could all burn in hell. As for gameplay, it'll be a mix of free roam, attending classes, completing various environmental puzzles, potential collectible collecting, and dungeon exploration. Yes, dungeons, you heard right. Thankfully, the combat looks pretty punchy and satisfying to me. I saw a few concerns online about it being repetitive, but if I were to guess, I'd say the combat may appear that way to the casual observer, but lying below the surface is a series of combos or subtle variations in combat style that allow you to really go wild with spell effects and swish and flick your damage the way you want to. That's just speculation though. I'm basically just saying that I believe the combat is probably going to be deeper than it initially appears. It's also basically confirmed at this point that some sort of morality system will be implemented. The whole your choices matter thing is supposedly in place. But as to how deep and impactful these decisions are, or how far into the evil side you're actually allowed to wade into, is unclear. You've got talents to unlock and upgrade, increasing abilities like your stealth and your core, which is sort of just a general all-round power enhancement. To augment these upgrades and your spells, you'll also be able to use potions. Snape would be so proud. And if you're into sentient weaponry, plants and creatures can also be grown and trained to kick ass. The obvious questions are, can you choose your house? And are relationships a thing? Yeah, of course you could choose your house. But as for relationships, that's a tad bit more vague. You can recruit companions, each of which apparently comes with a story of their own, allowing you to get to know the way their minds work and to get a glimpse at their background. This includes such cliches as the overly adventurous type, or the student who relates to the creatures more than the students. Somehow. The presentation throws around some hints as to what their individual quests may reveal, but it's all still very in the realm of I have no idea what to expect from any of these people. I'm also not a huge fan of the character models here, as a side note. They just all seem exceedingly bland. I know they're just students at Hogwarts, but they all look like the NPCs you'd fill up large areas with that don't stand out at all. That brings me to the professors, all of which, as far as I can tell, are new, or I guess old in this case. Point is, we don't know any of them. They also kinda suffer from that bland design problem, but not to the same extent as the students, thankfully. Much like our companions, I'm predicting quests revealing more about these folks as well. I'm sure at least one of them has a serious alcohol problem. Probably this guy. He looks too happy. Even though we don't know a large percentage of the 1800s Hogwarts staff and students, at least we can take comfort in the eternal familiarity of the house ghosts. Thank God for that. Quidditch is definitely here, although in what form it exists as gameplay hasn't been shown off. It might just be an interactive series of quick time events or a fully functional side activity. We don't know. Yet. And as mentioned before, the massive world outside the castle, including Hogsmeade, the Forbidden Forest, likely Gringotts, and by extension Diagon Alley, are all full of things to discover and mess around with. All gloriously Harry Potter free. After all, this is your story, this is your time to shine. Your character knows how to use ancient magic, by the way, and the fact you enroll super late to Hogwarts, starting in your 5th year, is both narratively intriguing and an extremely convenient way for the developers not to have to agonizingly make 7 years worth of content. It's a huge map as well, like, really huge. The shots on a broomstick or hippogriff really drive that point home. I'm also getting this slow sinking feeling in the back of my mind that this is clearly targeting current gen, and I have no idea how this is going to look or run on, for example, the base PS4. But yeah, as a whole, I'd say I'm quite impressed. It's a hell of a lot more in-depth than I ever thought it would be, and features like the Room of Requirement, for example, that's something I didn't know I'd both want or be this excited about. It's like your little sanctuary away from the hustle and bustle of being a Hogwarts student. You can furnish it the way you want, grow plants, harvest ingredients for crafting. Reminds me a lot of the Serenity Pot in Genshin Impact. It's also just an absolutely genius way of using the Room of Requirement for gameplay purposes. There's a talent tree that enhances your effectiveness within the Room of Requirement as well, likely meaning increasing storage capacity or the amount of things you make at once, maybe the amount of crap you're allowed to shove into your little pocket dimension. And I think that's about it for my impressions and thoughts. Game comes out holiday 2022. Hey, that's this year. Let's see. Is there anything I'm forgetting? Oh yeah, Ranrock. This guy's supposed to be the leader of an alleged goblin rebellion, and quite frankly, I cannot take him seriously as the main antagonist, so I refuse to believe he is the main antagonist. He looks more like the entry bad guy. You know, like you beat Ranrock and think, it's all over, but then, ooh man, here comes the real big bad emerging from the shadows behind the coffee table over there in the corner. Some of the enemies you encounter are, quote, corrupted by a magical force, end quote, but it's not explicitly clear if this is directly related to Ranrock and his adorable takeover attempt. We do know that the goblins and the dark wizards have a sort of partnership going on, with shaky foundations, to say the least. Okay, now I think I've said everything I wanted to say. I'm looking forward to this game quite a bit more than I was pre-state of play. It's looking thick and juicy, full of that good Wizarding World shit we've all craved to see implemented in a massive open-world RPG for years. And I, for one, cannot wait to live the unwritten. God, what a slogan. No microtransactions either. Thank you, Chandler Wood from Avalanche, for clearing that up. And until next time, I've got to brush up on my Cornish pixie knowledge.